Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I'm talking to all you iPhone people out there or iPad people out there because even turning off your iPhone won't stop this new infection. Here's what's going on. This is coming from Ars Technica, and I found this to be just fascinating, interesting, and a little terrifying, and we will get to that in a minute. Now, here's what goes on. When you turn off your iPhone, it doesn't fully power down. Basically, you have chips inside your device that continue to run in what is known as LPM or low power mode that makes it possible to do things like find a lost or stolen device using the Find My iPhone feature, all those kinds of things, or use credit cards or car keys if the battery on your phone dies. Essentially, the phone keeps running even if your core battery dies. Now, researchers have devised a way to basically abuse this always-on mechanism to run malware that remains active even when the iPhone appears to be powered down, meaning you go through the proper shutdown procedure, this keeps running. Now, it turns out that the iPhone's Bluetooth chip, which is key to making features like Find My, whatever work, has no mechanism for digitally signing or even encrypting the firmware that it runs. And there you go. Academics at Germany's Technical University of Darmstadt figured out how to exploit this lack of hardening to run malicious firmware that allows the attacker to track the phone's location or run new features when the device is turned off. The research is basically the first, or at least among the first, to study the risks posed by these chips running in low power mode. Now, this isn't to be confused with the low power mode basically to conserve battery life in your operating system, meaning you hit like 5% on an iPhone or an Android, and essentially it says it turns your screen much darker. It says, hey, you're about to die. This is different. That low power mode, or LPM, in this research allows chips responsible for near-field communication, ultra-wideband, and Bluetooth to run in a special mode that can remain on for 24 hours, even after your device is turned off. And so if you've walked away from your device for, let's say, a couple of days and it's off and you turn it back on, you may notice you've lost some percentage of battery. Here we go. Now, there is somewhat good news at the moment, though, and I expect this to change, but at the moment there is somewhat good news. These findings right now have limited real-world value since these infections require a jailbroken iPhone, meaning the iPhone standard operating system and ecosystem actually thwarts this. You have to jailbreak, meaning get around Apple's defenses to do this. That oftentimes can be a very difficult task, particularly like in an adversarial setting, meaning you're trying to infect a person in this way. You're going to need some time with their phone, and there you go. Still, targeting the always-on feature in iOS, which is the operating system that runs the iPhone, could prove handy in post-exploit scenarios by malware such as Pegasus, right? The sophisticated smartphone exploit from the Israeli-based NSO group, which governments were using worldwide. I literally just talked about that on air, for my radio show, just as an update to Pegasus. It's been going on for quite some time. That is probably one of the worst iPhone infections or just mobile phone infections we've ever seen. Apple people don't believe Apple's marketing hype. We can infect you and you can get infected just as easily. Now, it may also, I should say, be possible to infect the chips in the event that attackers discover security flaws that are susceptible to over-the-air exploits, similar to the one that basically worked against Android devices that was discovered and defended against in the past. Besides allowing malware to run while the iPhone is turned off, exploits targeting low power mode, or LPM, could allow malware to operate with much more stealth, since LPM allows firmware to conserve battery power. And of course, firmware infections are extremely difficult to detect since it requires significant expertise and expensive equipment. There's not real threat detection systems on Apple anyway, because Apple stripped most of those out of the App Store in 2015. So here we are. On top of that, most of these threat detection systems can't even see firmware infections, only infections at the software level. Now, researchers said that Apple engineers reviewed the paper before it was published, but essentially they didn't provide feedback on the contents, and Apple did not respond to requests for interviews on this or comments, etc., etc. And so here we are. Basically, what this shows is that if researchers can find this, intelligence agencies can find this, or, that random, person out there that is a criminal with expertise may be able also to find this as well. And so now it really behooves Apple to start investigating how they are putting the physical hardware into a phone, meaning that Bluetooth chip that isn't digitally signing anything or can't be encrypted. Now they're going to have to step up the game to start thwarting these kinds of things, because as people figure out more sophisticated ways to get around jailbreaking, or as the article mentions, maybe they can hit you over the air via some kind of wireless technology and get you infected that way, then actually having physical access to the phone like Pegasus no longer becomes a problem. So this is interesting, this is fascinating, but heads up, iPhone users, you have this very serious flaw, and we are hoping that Apple will correct it sooner than later. Until then, make sure that your iPhone is with you at all times. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please stay private. Thanks, everyone.